And on today's call, we decided to do the topic, buy the rumor, sell the news. Now, put a 5 in the chat if you've heard that saying before. Put a 4 in the chat if you have not heard that saying before, right? That's something that we've heard a lot, mostly when it comes to the educators we learn from, which is like the smart money educators, right? Buy the rumor, sell the news. And we hear about that, right? And maybe we understand it, but maybe we don't understand it fully. And the biggest thing to understand, and this is something that happens over and over and over and over again. And the reason why it is what it is, we'll talk about on today's call, but just understanding that we really hear how we learn this here in Powerhouse and everything that we do is we watch the masses and we do the complete opposite. That's literally the saying that we've been able to, cultivate, and it's from the education we've been able to learn from. And today we're going to be kind of going into the charts, mainly with crypto, on how it's actually affected the markets and how it can actually affect where we're at now and where things can go. Because I want to kind of bring some value for you guys. Maybe you guys been tuning into the crypto calls with Finn's Inline. Maybe you haven't. I'm going to bring something that I learned from this week as well and help us navigate where things are at. Because as you guys know, BTC is at an all-time high, guys. It literally, if not wicked on some brokers, 120, but 118, right? So put some 18s in the chat. If you saw BTC hit $118,000, guys. That's the highest it's ever been, all-time highs. But the wild thing for me, and I'll talk about this as well, is that it's not like people are not in the euphoric state yet. Like, I don't know if you guys have realized that, but Bitcoin is at the highest it's ever been. 118 is the highest it's ever in history. But there's still people in the streets. There's still Uber drivers, right? There's still people at the coffee shops that might have not really understand what's going on in crypto yet. What's going on in crypto, what's going on in BTC. And that's actually a really good sign, fam. That's a really good sign, okay? So with saying that, as you guys know, I don't do this call by myself. I do this call with my brother, John Luke. He's from the UK. So for the individual that's in London, UK right now, my boy John Luke is from the UK. But I'm very excited to run these calls with him. We've been able to do this for a good amount of weeks now. We decided to just come together on the weekend, to not let our weekend be our weekend. And John Luke is somebody that really loves everything we talk about here. He especially loves a lot about the news, the fundamentals, what's really going on, because it does matter, right? What happens in the world, it's shown in the charts, right? At the end of the day, the charts show what's going on in the world. When you bring those two things together, is where you can really be ahead and actually be educated. Because the news we talk about in today's calls, they're not the news that you see on like CNN or Fox News, or for the Latinos that Univision, right? It's not that type of news. It's the news that actually matters in the market. So what I'm going to do is bring on my brother, John Luke. Like I said, guys, been doing this for a good amount of time with him. He's one of the OGs of the OGs. He's a guy that's been by me throughout this whole journey. He has a lot of experience in crypto, guys, corporate markets, investing in a lot of different ways. So definitely somebody to take notes from. So I'll let John Luke kind of take it away. And we'll kind of get started with the news and stuff.
Yes, family, what's going on? Let's put some tens in the chat for Gil. Buzzing to be on this call. Some of you don't know, but Gil's the first one to introduce me to this journey about, what's it, like 4.5 years ago now, almost. So, he is the individual who really showed me a lot of the ropes coming into this. And it's so cool being able to provide this value to you guys. This is open to the public, as you know. But if you are in Powerhouse, go in those group chats and say OTC, because you already know we're about to give some serious game. So as you mentioned, Bitcoin hit an all-time high, which is a massive accomplishment. And so, I was looking at one of these articles and it was mentioning about the Bitcoin ETF. Now, we know that an ETF is an exchange traded fund. It's simply a asset that has a basket of goods. You can call that securities, in which you can invest in and get a more stable ROI on your investment. And so the Bitcoin ETF is simply where a lot of multimillionaires, institutional investors are invested within. Why? Because they don't want to have full exposure to the risk of crypto. They don't want full exposure to the volatility of crypto, but they want to have a piece of it. They want to like dibble their toes in, but they don't want to go all in. And so that ETF is a perfect combination of TradFi, which is traditional finance, and non-traditional finance. You can say DeFi, which is decentralized finance. And basically, Bitcoin ETF had its second biggest day ever, and that was $1.17 billion on Thursday, of an injection of funds, which is incredible. That's a large amount of funds. And so that was led by BlackRock, which is the world's largest asset manager. BlackRock manage $11 trillion in the globe. Fidelity and ARK. Those are the three investment banks that were leading the way with the injection of funds into this ETF. And so as regulation improves, as the laws and the rules become more like, what's the word, specific, more and more businesses are going to want to get involved in crypto, adopt it, and utilize it within their services, because you don't have the ambiguity of, is this legal or is this not legal? And that's why these regulations are a massive positive. And when that happens, you see large inflows of funds coming into these various Bitcoin ETFs. So that was one of the major things that I was looking into. I see here as well, Ethereum ETF had $383 million of inflows on Thursday, which was also the second highest day on record for Ethereum ETFs. And as you guys may be aware, we're hearing about Ripple ETFs, XRP. We're hearing about Cardano. We're hearing about Solana. All of these are in the works, and it's only going to grow. And so that's something you want to keep an eye on, because that's going to raise the market cap of the crypto space. And so if I go into CoinGecko right now and check out, like, hey, what's the market cap within CoinGecko? I'm pretty sure we're going to find that it's probably touching 4 trillion almost, $3.73 trillion. And that's something that's forever increasing. There's this website which I like to go to, which I believe it's called Infinity X. And what you can do here is compare the market cap of one asset class compared to the other asset class. And what I realized is that when Bitcoin becomes the market cap of gold, the multiples of price that Bitcoin is at is incredible. It's literally 300K plus when you match the market cap of what gold is to what Bitcoin can be. That gives you an idea as to what the future price of Bitcoin can be, maybe not in this current bull market, but maybe in the next bull market, which is usually every 4 to 6 years. That's typically the cycles that we see within crypto. So that's just a little bit of source there. But I'm going to pass it back to Gil, and we're going to go back and forth here as we look through the charts and some of the technicals within the space.
Yes, familia. So put some ones in the chat. If you guys got some information, some games, some updates on what's really going on right now, which, we're always kind of looking and seeing what's kind of going on with everything and happening in the space today. So what I want to do myself is I wanted to come on here and get on the charts, right? So I wanted to give you guys some visual representations from the topic we talked about, right? Buy the rumor, sell the news. So I did some research, right? I went back and I said, okay, where were the times that this actually happened? Where maybe you were in crypto, maybe you weren't. Actually, let's do this real quick. Let me know in the chat box, in what year did you get started in learning crypto or investing in crypto? And what year? What year was it when you first got it going when it comes to crypto? Let me know in the chat box, because knowing this is going to have an idea on, maybe a lot of you guys were not here in this time, actually, which is good because we get to learn from the past, and you guys will be ahead than most people, right? So it's wild. We have a lot of people in 2024. That's wild. 2025, okay, for sure. 25, 2019, Forex 2019, but this is your first bull run. Okay, amazing. Amazing. Wow. Okay. So everybody here definitely is their first bull run for sure. We're not here back in 2021 when me and Jean-Luc, we're learning, and we might have done, things we shouldn't have done, bought this, bought that, maybe, right? Taking a little bit more trips than we should have. But we were able to experience, honestly, a lot of amazing things in the last run, because we first got exposed to crypto in 2020. 2021 is when we really started to dive into it. 2022 is when we started to see a lot of things. But there's a couple things that happened, fam, in the prior years that affected a lot of things in the market, right? The first things I want to show you guys is this, actually. Now, put a one in the chat if you guys have heard of Coinbase, right? I'm pretty sure everybody here, it doesn't matter how long you've been here, you're probably on Coinbase. Coinbase is the biggest one in the US. It's basically a US exchange, to be honest. It's basically ran by the government, believe it or not. So it went public back in April of 2021. Now, I want to give you guys an example of what buy the rumor, sell the news. And this is the biggest one. This is what kind of blew my mind. I don't remember this exact date, and I'll tell you guys why it's special, at least to me. But back in April 12th to 12th, the 12th is when they launched the IPO, right, of Coinbase. What does that mean? That means that the Coinbase became a stock and it went public where anybody could buy the stock, which an exchange that is stock. Wow, right? You can invest in it. You can be a part of crypto without having to buy crypto if you don't want to. You can buy certain stocks like Coinbase, like Riot, right? There's a lot of different ones you can buy that give you that kind of exposure, right? Like MicroStrategy as well, because all they do is buy crypto. But what I want to give is an example because this was a moment, a pivotal moment where people were very excited about it. Like, think about it. For the first time ever, the first exchange ever went public. That's history, right? What does that bring? Let me know in the chat box. What do you guys think people were feeling at that time when people were talking about Coinbase going public? Like, first time in history. How do you guys think people were feeling? Let me know in the chat box. We got Chris saying euphoria. What else? What other emotions? Hype. What else? What else? Give me some emotions. If you're like, man, Coinbase is the first time, you're back in 2021, first time in crypto, you're like, oh my God, it's going public. You know, everybody that doubted us, like, you know, whatever, right? Optimism. Got a scam message from Coinbase. Okay. I love that. Excitement. Okay, cool. So I want to show you guys a chart of Bitcoin. And this is wild to me because I actually don't remember this exact date, right? Everything happened so quick. But believe it or not, one of the tops, because it didn't came back, right? But one of the tops in the market was literally that date, right? It was literally, and I went to the daily actually and went here to show you guys what happened in 2021. And it was April of 2021, right? Believe it or not, and I don't remember this exact date, but on my birthday is when the market actually topped. April 14th of 2021. It's wild. Is one of the tops, literally was the top. And this was the moment. And I did this green box for a reason because this green box right here was the rumor, right? Is when everybody was talking about Coinbase. Everybody was talking about crypto. Everybody was like, oh my God, it's going to go public. We're going to go to the moon. Bitcoin is going to 300,000. You know, John Luke and I remember those days. Certain people were saying Bitcoin to 300K, and we believed it. Like, I believed it. I was like, oh, 300K is over. Like other cryptos, right? We didn't understand what we understand now, but we did have some sort of education, right? At the end of the day, we understood that there was a lot of rumors happening. Okay. And even with education, sometimes it takes your own experience to even get educated even more because we understood this type of deal, but we also got excited with the emotion. So one thing you want to look out for in your run is watch the emotions that you're having in the people around you. If the people around you are excited, euphoric, you want to start kind of seeing the other side of the coin. And if people are down, depressed, not excited, again, you want to see the other side of the coin. So this was the time there's a lot of rumors, and Bitcoin, guys, went from around below 30K to 60K. It doubled from January of 2021 to April, guys. That was only 4 months. It doubled in 4 months. And when Coinbase went public, it literally shot the market down. Not only in that moment, it shot it down all the way to the other bottom that we had, which was at 30,000. So this is a number one prime example of buying the rumor, selling the news. Because imagine if we were educated and we sold here on my birthday, right? Everybody sold on Gil's birthday back in 2021 because we knew that when the news actually came out, it would actually bring down the price. We would have been at the tops, right? So this type of understanding is crucial, and it's always sometimes good to look back to then look forward. The markets don't do the exact same things, but they do rhyme. So that's one example, fam, to look at on when there was a time that buying was good for the rumor, but when it actually came out, it was good to take profits or to sell on leverage, right? As you guys know, retest, this could have been an amazing sell on leverage, right? So put a 3 in the chat. This makes sense so far. Put a 3 in the chat because I'm gonna give you guys a couple of cases, right? Of case studies on today's call about this. It won't be the only one, but this is one of them. Now, the second one I wanted to talk about was actually ETH. Okay, ETH. It changed the way it was being done, right? It went from proof of stake to proof of work, right? And this was a very crucial moment. This was actually back in the day. I get it now. Okay, love to see that. This was back in the day, right? And this maybe wasn't the as big as of a difference, but it still was a good example there. Now, Ethereum back in the day, right, was a proof of stake. Okay, so it changed the way that it was being really produced in a way, to make it very simple. Okay, during this time, guys, August 8th of 2022 is when it was announced that it was going to change how crypto was going to actually, no, sorry, it was September 2022. It was right here, right when they announced that Ethereum was going to change how it's going to be produced. But during this whole time, fam, during this time of rumors, which was literally from here to here, it was a bullish market, right? It was bullish. It went from $900, which is wild, Ethereum, to 2,000. But when that actually happened, guys, it actually came back to literally almost the opening price here. And again, it was because this was the rumor. And then the news actually happened and it actually brought the market down. And you see how obvious it is. Like, it literally brought it down. Like, literally on that kind of day, like right here was the retest and it brought the market down tremendously, which at this time it was 30%, which is decent amount in crypto, right? So this is another example. Now, the next one I want to show you guys is actually a Bitcoin one again, is the ETFs. Maybe you were around this time because this is a little bit more relevant. Like, put a 5 in the chat if you remember hearing about Bitcoin ETFs for the first time, right? This is a little bit more relevant for a lot of us here. Maybe for not all of us, but for a lot of us. Okay. And I remember this time, obviously, I was in crypto. I kind of saw this happen in front of my eyes, and I was a lot more aware this time than I was before. So I was like, interesting. I literally saw it happen. And I was like, wow, like this actually does happen. Okay. Because I want to give you guys a specific date, right? It was right here, actually, around these dates, January 8th to 11th, around these dates was the day that the Bitcoin ETF was announced, right? That actually came, it happened, right? But throughout the time from the end of 2023, guys, there was so much speculation. If you guys don't remember that, well, you guys look back now, but there was so much speculation on Bitcoin, on what's happening, what's going on, the ETF. Oh my God, we're excited, we're up, right? Yeah, for sure. We're up. A lot of exciting things are happening because the ETF was the first time ever to happen in crypto. First time, right? There's been gold ETFs, and maybe we show a chart about that here in a bit. What happened when gold got their first ETF was parabolic. So we were comparing those charts. We were seeing that. But when the date actually came, what happened? Let me know in the chat box. What actually happened from here to here? Okay, what actually happened? Because remember, this was the rumor, right? This was the rumor. This was the news. Let me know in the chat box what actually happened after the news hit, right? For literally maybe like a couple of days, actually, right? A drop, right? Market retraced about another 20%. Now, the market continued to go higher, but you guys want to know how many people bought here and sold here because they were frustrated and they were down 20% after they bought? A lot of people. And that's the purpose of the market, is to scare the average person, scare the retail investor out of the market so that big money can actually come in. So this is one of the biggest ones that I saw, at least like when it came to like obviousness. I think the biggest one was the one I just showed with BTC at the top on my birthday. It's wild in 2021. And then came back down after the Coinbase, because that's a big deal, right? That's one of the best examples. But I also want to bring up my brother, John Luke, so he can kind of chime in with these experiences, because believe it or not, we experienced it together. So he has his own point of view of kind of what we see and what we see now as well. So John Luke, bro, I'll let you come in.
Thanks. Yeah, no, we literally went through this together. It's crazy. And so there's 3 phases in the market. I know that there's a couple of beginners on the call. There's a couple of advanced people on the call. We have a couple of professional athletes on the call. Gil from banking, and this is great to see. So the three ways that the three phases in the market, guys, is accumulation, distribution, and consolidation. Yeah. If you want to be technical, you can say accumulation, distribution, and reaccumulation. But the point is that the market is going upwards, uptrend, consolidating sideways, or downwards in a downtrend, right? Bearish movement. And so, Gil, if you pull up that Bitcoin chart that you first showed, you're able to see these three phases. These three phases, all right? Accumulation, distribution, and consolidation, or to a sense, you can say reaccumulation, but let's not get too advanced. And so those three boxes that Gil has here, those two boxes, when you zoom in, I noticed that there were also three phases. And so on that red box area, if we made it slightly shorter, like if we stop the red box at the end of the drop, pulling that to the left side, and then if we drew a rectangle after that red drop, you'll see that area after the red, that's reaccumulation, that's consolidation. You put a 10 in the chat if you guys are seeing this. That's literally reaccumulation, aka consolidation to then go in an uptrend. So that's the three phases like mapped out right there. And this happens constantly. The markets are fractal. Fractal means it spells Fractal. Fractal means whatever happens on a large time frame is happening on a smaller time frame, but just in smaller pieces. And so we can see here significant accumulation from the rumor. So first the announcement, hey, Bitcoin ETF is going to be happening this day. Everyone's hyping up, like, yeah, let's go, let's go. Once it gets announced and it occurs, that's when the drop happens. Because why? Big money wants to buy low, sell high. They don't want to buy high, sell high. That don't make sense. Sell low, sorry. It's buy low, sell high. So when they control the media and these outlets and these influencers and celebrities that everybody follows, they get them to say stuff. Everyone gets hyped, and then the price drops lower when the announcement comes. They're like, why is that happening? Well, they're buying at discount prices. Remember, they're not spending $100 on Bitcoin, guys. They're spending 100 mil. And 100 mil at a 5% discount is 5 mil. $100 at a 5% discount is $5. It's a big difference. So it means a lot to these large players who are doing these OTC transactions. They're not buying these assets at the same price as we are. They're getting it cheaper because it's in bulk. That's why we go to Costco, because the cost per unit is less when you buy in bulk. You know what I'm saying? It's the same concept. So I wanted to mention that. The second thing is, put a 5 in the chat if you've heard of Jamie Dimon, and put a 10 in the chat if you've not heard of Jamie Dimon. This is to do with banking and finance. 5 if you've heard of Jamie Dimon. Wait. 5 if you've heard of him, 10 if you haven't. Maybe I said it the other way around. But either way, guys, Jamie Dimon is the CEO of Chase, right? And we know Chase, we use it, debit, credit cards, blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to share my screen here because I want to show you something that Jamie Dimon said. This is, you can see my screen? All right, cool. This is what he said about Bitcoin.
Digital currencies, I could care less about Bitcoin. I don't know why I said anything about it. The blockchain is a technology, which is a good technology. We actually use it. It will be used for a lot of different things. God bless the blockchain. Cryptocurrencies and digital currencies, I think are also fine. JP Morgan moves $6 trillion around the world every day. We don't do it in cash. It's done digitally. If it can be done digitally with the blockchain, so be it. But it'll still be a dollar cryptocurrency. What I have an issue with is a non-fiat cryptocurrency. Dollar, so crypto, sterling, euro, yen, they're all fine. I don't personally understand the value of something that has no actual value.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't personally understand the value of something that has no value. He said, I could care less about Bitcoin. This guy said, I'm not a fan. This is a multi-millionaire guy, CEO of one of the largest banks in the world. But hold on a minute. Bitcoin is up 91% since JP Morgan CEO claims it was a fraud and a Ponzi scheme. Wow. wow, shock, surprise there. So Bitcoin goes up. When these guys are telling the public it's a fraud, it's a Ponzi, I could care less about Bitcoin. Well, what if I told you that most of the CEOs that are down about Bitcoin, did you know that their companies are invested in companies that use blockchain technology? What? You know, Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett said so many bad things about crypto. You know, Warren Buffett invests in companies that use crypto. How is that possible? I will research a crypto project and I find out that, okay, this is the partner to that project. Let me look into the partner. Who's the investors of that partner? Oh, Warren Buffett. Oh, Charlie Munger. Oh, this person. So it's crazy, guys. Like they are indirectly in the crypto markets, but telling you that it's a scheme and it's a Ponzi. Make it make sense. You know, that's the phrase, isn't it? Make it make sense. It's wild. So I wanted to give you that picture on the fundamental side of what happens, because when you know there's three analysis of trading and investing. There's three ways, okay? There's technical analysis, there's fundamental analysis, and there's sentimental analysis. If you don't know that, write that down, a free analysis of trading. Technical, fundamental, sentimental. Technicals is what Gil was showing you, the chart work. Remember, the fundamentals is the news. The news is the excuse to move the market to exactly where it's meant to be. When you understand technical analysis, you're like, oh, well, COVID happened in 2020. What was happening for the past year from 2019 to 2020? The accumulation of the dollar. The dollar was appreciating in value. So as traders, we're looking at that going, something in this world needs to happen for the dollar to rebalance itself on the charts so that there's less inefficiency. What was that something? Pandemic. Like something. I don't know what it is, whether it's war, whether it's pandemic, like something. And then sentimental analysis comes with experience. Gil has 5 years in the game of trading. Sentimental analysis is understanding over years of experience. What is the feeling within the market? What is the sentiment? What does the public think about this and that? When you combine those three ways of analysis together that we've learned within Powerhouse, that's when you become an effective investor and trader.
Facts, fam. That was a lot of game. I'm really happy, John Luke brought it up. So put a 5 in the chat if you guys saw something that maybe you've never seen, or it starts to make sense now. It's starting to click on like, oh, wow. So when these people are saying certain things, it's actually the opposite. And what I want to show you guys real quick to add on what John Luke just said, he brought up an amazing point, is that, believe it or not, JP Morgan, which is funny because we just talked about the CEO of JP Morgan, he already has created their own kind of like a blockchain in crypto, right? They already have partnered with Chainlink and Ondo to make it a financial infrastructure where big money can come in and participate in crypto and go through JP Morgan. But believe it or not, this has been around for 4 years already. So if we scroll down here, and they actually changed their name. I remember it was a different name. For 4+ years, their digital payments have already been live. It's already been out. That means they were probably working on it when the CEO was talking rubbish, like they say in the UK, right? Rubbish about it in 2017, right? So this is something that John Luke is talking about, is that when certain individuals are saying certain things, remember, big money, big institutions, big players want to scare retail money so that they are able to get in at better prices. That is the whole purpose of how these things work and how these things move. But right now it's exciting because we have JP Morgan in the horizons already doing these things, right? Making it in a place where big money, and they want part of that money. That's what the game, at the end of the day, guys, you can hate crypto, you can love crypto, you can be okay about crypto or have any type of emotion about crypto. But when you know that that's where the money is going, there's a saying that's called follow the money. Put a 1 in the chat if you've heard about that. Follow the money. That's why we trade the way we trade with smart money, right? What do? We follow the money. We don't follow the emotion. We don't follow our point of view. We don't follow our vision, right? We follow where the money is at. And right now, money is going to crypto if people like it or people don't like it. It's up to you guys. It's up to us. And we are the ones that are going to be pioneers, right, in this and be involved. But it's up to us. So it's up to anybody to say, you know what, I'm going to be a part of where the money's going, or I'm going to let the money go. I'm going to let the internet go back in 2000s when a lot of our parents maybe didn't have the opportunity, right? buying Microsoft stock maybe back in the day, or Amazon stock back in the day, or Tesla stock back in the day, right? This is kind of like the opportunities we're looking at. Now, the last one I wanted to show you guys, the last case study I wanted to bring up was actually XRP. Now, put some XRP in the chat. If you have XRP, you've heard of XRP, maybe you love XRP, maybe you're amazingly bullish on XRP, right? XRP is something that I've been hearing out for a very long time. Believe it or not, I actually didn't during this whole time. I didn't really invest in XRP back in 2021 because I saw that it was just very consolidating. I saw the whole case thing. It was a great opportunity, right? But I learned from that now. But this is something that happened back in the time where XRP had the SEC lawsuits. So if you guys don't know what that means, during a period of time, which is a very long time, guys, I'm talking about years, right? XRP was in a lawsuit with the SEC. They were basically battling if it was, to make it very simple. I'm not gonna make it too complicated. Basically, in their eyes, if it's legit or not. That's basically it. And they were in that for many, many years. During that time, you couldn't even buy XRP on exchanges. You can only get it off of exchange. So a lot of people couldn't accumulate, meaning the prices weren't very bullish, right? Even though the other markets were moving, XRP wasn't doing much. But then came the quick rumor / announcement. It was actually an announcement of it going away, right? The SEC case going away. And this is interesting what happened, because literally in one day, guys, XRP moved 100%. It basically 2x. So yeah, if you had $1,000, it went to $2,000 in one day. But guess what happened literally right after is that the markets tanked. So this was the news, right? This was news / the rumor, but after the news, it brought retracement. So this would have been kind of very hard, in my opinion. Like if you were here, maybe taking profit the day of. Yes, of course, that would have been perfect. That the day of it happened, boom, the news happened, I'm out, right? This move happened so quickly for a certain amount of people to execute out of it. And then guess what happened? XRP was literally dead from August 2023. It moved a little bit, it moved a little bit, dead. And then look what happened. Almost a year later, basically a year later, guys, it's when we had the move of XRP, right? And this is the move that if you were a part of XRP, this was the move, okay? Right now, in my opinion, if you're not an XRP, I'm not saying it's a bad asset. It's a great asset. It's going to have a lot of potential, but it's not going to see another 10x in this run, right? So this was the move of literally a lifetime, in my opinion. Yeah, this whole run, this is the move. It went from 50 cents, fam, to literally $3.30. So this is something to show you that when things are dead, when things are quiet, that is when you want to accumulate. Because look at this. Look at how much time this took. And this was a learning lesson for me, transparently. But look how much time we had, right? We literally had over a year of accumulation before the amazingly bullish move. So this is a great example of, again, not only when buy the rumor, sell the news, but also when there's nothing going on and things are boring and things are quiet, that is where you want to accumulate, right? And what I want to kind of end this before I pass it to John Luke, if he wants to add anything to it, but I want to show you guys where things are right now. And to sum this all around at the end of the day, I want to talk about what's going on right now. Now, in the last week, right, we had something called FOMC minutes. Put a 1 in the chat if you heard about it, or if you haven't, put a 2 in the chat. But something called FOMC minutes happened where basically the Fed, right, the head of the Fed came on a podium and talked about what was to come, what they projected, what they saw, what they could see things happening, right? And there was interesting things because it was actually kind of talked about projected that there was going to be rate cuts happening very soon. And we know that's a positive thing, right? If you guys don't know, rate cuts, right? It brings more money in the markets because why? Because it's cheaper to loan out money, right? It's cheaper to buy a home. People are taking out more loans. And believe it or not, guys, even in the markets, people make money off of loans, off of debt. People don't make money off of cash. Even businesses, just FYI, people think that people make money off of cash. That's not really true. They get off of credit. But it's only beneficial when interest rates are low, right? So if interest rates get cut, meaning they get put lower and lower and lower and lower, more people are bound to take out loans to then get back in real estate, get back in the markets, get back in BTC, right? Do these things. And that's a bullish idea. That's a bullish news. But right now, guys, as we can see, it hasn't happened yet. Okay. It hasn't happened yet. And believe it or not, we've been waiting for a rate cut since the beginning of the year. Like literally, everybody's been waiting for the rate cut, waiting for the rate cut, waiting for it. It hasn't happened yet. Something that I learned actually from Jordan Morgan on one of the sessions today is that right now is the best example of what we just talked about: buying the rumor and potentially selling the news. Okay, so we don't know when tops are going to hit. We don't know how fast will be this year or next year. We don't know that. But with our understanding, this could bring more commotion. Maybe the next time they don't cut and they say, oh, the next one we're going to cut. And it gives more time and more time for people to hype things about it. And maybe, just maybe, this is just projection idea, right? When it actually starts to cut, it might actually be a bearish news. It might actually be a bearish sentiment because the rumor of it hypes it up. And then boom, when it actually happens, it doesn't go where people want to go. It's also a way to trap people's money, fam. So where we're at right now, guys, like we're saying, 118, there's a lot of opportunity still. Like I said, right now, there's not euphoria. People aren't like super bullish, excited. Yeah, we are, but not that average person. Another thing I want to bring up, and the last thing I'll bring up, is that we still have altcoins that haven't reached all-time highs, guys. We have Ethereum that hasn't reached an all-time high yet, right? Bitcoin has. And as we know, Bitcoin usually follows with Ethereum and then Solana, but Solana has all-time highs, but ETH hasn't. And I think that's very bullish because that means we have a lot of time, potentially. I don't know how long that time can be, right? It can be a quick one or whatever, but we're still at a good position where we can have Ethereum come back up, guys. And I'm here to tell you guys something and tell you something very crucial. And we'll probably talk about this next week about maybe alt season. But when we get at an all-time high in Ethereum, guys, that is the start of alt season officially, because everything will follow Ethereum, guys. Chainlink, the Ondos, like obviously they're already going to be moved by then. They're already going to be like maybe like here, right? Or here. But this is what brings that bullish sentiment that happens back in 2020, 2021. And for everybody on today's call, other than me and John, from what I saw, you guys have never seen this, which is wild to me, which is exciting actually, right? You guys haven't experienced the real euphoria state. So if you think this is euphoria, just wait. And I'm very excited for it to come. And that's why we have calls like this. That's why we have what we have, guys. Just to kind of give you guys this before I give it to John Luke, for him to add anything. If you guys are a part of our community or a part of Zinrai Powerhouse and what we do here, guys, I highly recommend to be, oh man, I need to situate that right now. But I highly recommend to watch the educators we have, the Mike Soteros, right? The Jordan Morgans. On Wednesday, there's a call that is Jordan Morgan, Mike Sotero, Patrick Kenny, three of the OGs of OGs, 10 plus years of experience coming together and talking about what's going on. So highly recommend to stay plugged into the calls, stay plugged into the education. But with saying that, guys, that's kind of it for me. I'll give it to John Luke if he wants to add anything, close it out. But yeah, appreciate you guys for being on.
Yeah, no, that's honestly massive game, and an idea just came to mind for potentially next week's call. But rate cuts, as Gil mentioned, it makes it cheaper to borrow, and if it's cheaper to borrow, that increases consumer expenditure, which means more people are spending money, more people are loaning money. As more people spend and loan and put in investments, what does that mean? Well, that raises the circular flow of income. It raises the funds available, and the stock market starts to boom. People start to transfer money from maybe bonds to stocks. Why? Because there's a higher potential ROI as the rates are cheaper. So all of this is positive news for crypto and for us as investors. And one of the things that come to mind is next week, put a 10 in the chat. This is an idea. Put a 10 in the chat if you'd love us to cover this topic, which could be how to manage alt season. Put a 10 in the chat if you think that's a good topic, how to manage alt season. Because many of you haven't been here in 2021, 2022 and seen what that looks like. Yeah, Gil, I'm seeing a lot of 10s, man. I mean, that could be a pretty lit topic. If you guys want it, we'll provide it, you know? So yeah, That sounds good. You know, this was 40 minutes of game. We have these videos on YouTube. For those of you who want to watch recorded, and you can't catch on the live, or you want to like take more notes, check it out on YouTube. You know, Gil's got his YouTube. Gil, was it Gil the Creator? Is that the YouTube?
Yeah, Gil Creator on YouTube. I'll send it if you're in Powerhouse. I'll send it in the crypto channel. And if not, you can get it directly from us. But yeah, it's just Gil Creator. What my Instagram is.
Amazing, amazing. And my one is Gene at the Scene. You know, if you want, you can see my music videos from 2016. I'm joking, but yeah, it's just you know, crypto focused now. So those videos are there on Gil's channel. My Instagram, Gene at the Scene. Gil's, he's got his there. You can see it on the tag. So let's spread the word. Let's offer value. Appreciate all of you, and we look forward to seeing you next week for how to manage all season.